We is live. I am live. Can't believe it. I decided to go live. Can't help myself. Might as well go live. You know, Saks Fifth Avenue. It's one of them stores way back in the day that's been around a long time with a bunch of other department stores. Broadway, Orbox. You don't hear about Orbox or Broadway anymore. Montgomery Ward, Sears, Macy's, May Company, all eaten up, most of them by Macy's, and some other department stores around the United States that I've never even heard of that Macy's bought or May Company bought, or they merged with hsppening. Let's not forget the discount store. A lot of discount department stores. All of these have became at some point anchor stores and malls. It's not on the street, but anchor stores. The stores at the end of each mall where you either go in from the parking lot or you go in while you're in the mall. It didn't matter. Sometimes you didn't want to walk through the anchor store to get to the main mall in the hall where all the other stores are, including mom and pop stores that can afford to be in the mall, that can afford to lease. But I read this article from the street. I guess the street is the main deal because they always got the type of stuff that you want to read about. This article by Daniel Klein and reviewed by Celine Provini. So most everything I'm getting from this is from here, but I'll put my own little spin on it anyway, and then I'll get into some verbatim stuff. But Saks Fifth Avenue is not paying their bills. Saks Fifth Avenue, that store that, like I said, all the others, Saks Fifth Avenue kind of stood out by itself, along with another department store that was taken over by Saks Fifth Avenue. But Saks Fifth Avenue to me was one of those very high end stores at the time that I kind of laughed at when people went in there because most of the time, if I did go in Saks once or twice, I usually just stand around and look because there's nothing in there for me. Of course, I'm always with somebody else if I go into that type of store. So Saks Fifth Avenue is not paying their bills. They're not paying certain other people on time. And the big thing that caught my attention is they could be filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And that's what got my attention. It's not necessarily about food, even though I did at the last minute this evening for dinner. I had a honey mustard wrap with my favorite ice mocha from Burger King. Of course, I'm not showing that, but I didn't get no breakfast this morning. I had a few problems with a vehicle. Had to put some air in the tire. But Saks, one of those department stores, especially in Beverly Hills and various other places, that I hardly ever went into, or I looked at everyone else going to, or I dropped somebody else off and let them go in there. I'll see them later. It wasn't my type of store, but they were an integral part of society as a higher echelon, at least in my eyes, maybe not in others. When women go and pay the big bucks for something nice, the fabrics are nicer. And I guess when you go buy stuff like that, I guess it does make you feel like you really got something for real, something that would last, something that is by people who put these products together and you go out and wear them. So I am surprised that they might be filing bankruptcy. And another thing that really got to me was I think the main thing is they've been around for 123 years. That is amazing. Like they said, there's hardly any store 100 years, let alone 123 years. That's a major department store. And that's about ready to file chapter 11. If it doesn't get its business straight, they're trying to restructure. And it's close to the holidays now. This is when people be wanting to buy stuff, but yet they going in that direction. They're not doing the things that they're supposed to do. Just like they said, how did a store last that long and not have these kind of problems? But then again, I'm going to read off a list from the street, verbatim, and I'll tell you whether I heard of them or not. Maybe you have in your part of the country, but if you never heard of them, they probably merged or it went totally out of business. This is a list of mall anchors. That's what they said, mall anchors that have closed. Mervyn's. They call it what, a mid-tier department store closed in 2008. Montgomery Ward. I used to shop Montgomery Ward. Mervyn's, I wasn't quite shopping, but I had been in the stores, or I know someone who goes in those stores. Montgomery Ward, I was an avid Montgomery Ward shopper at some point in my life, away from Sears. They had their problem, but I used to shop at Montgomery Ward almost religiously for appliances. But they were going through some problems. They wasn't fixing things right, like big package items, like refrigerators. I always had to call them out. They went out of business in 2001. Gimbals. Now, I heard of Gimbals, historic department store, acquired by Battis. I don't know who Battis is, and closed in 1987, but I did hear about Gimbals. I don't think I ever shopped at a big Gimbals. Marshall Fields, I think I heard about that name, Chicago-based department store. They're rebranded into Macy's. So there's one department store that went into Macy's in 2006. That means they probably closed some of the others, but a lot of stores became Macy's. That's 2006. Bonwood Teller, luxury department store chain that went out of business in 1990. Now, why is my thing not? Why is this? Why is my cell phone screwing up all of a sudden? I want to go back where I was at before. Where was I at? Chapter 11. Oh, I guess that was always something. It's always something when these various computers can't work themselves out for whatever reason. Let me put it back on that 100 years, right back to where I was before. Okay, I'm back here again. I did end with Bunwit Teller, luxury department store. Went out of business in 1990. Now, I've never heard of them. Burdine, Florida department store. Never heard of them. That was merged into Macy's. This is another one that was merged into Macy's by 2005. So they're basically in Florida, but now they merged into Macy's. Ames, discount department store. This is another discount department store. If I can get this advertising away from here. They closed in the early 2000s. Hex, Mid-Atlantic department store converted to Macy's by 2006. There's another one that merged into Macy's. Bradley's, discount department store that closed in the early 2000s. Caldor, discount retailer in the Northeast that closed in 1999. Fizits Parisian, never heard of, regional department store that were eventually sold or converted to Macy's or Belk stores. Now, these are the anchor stores in the past. Hain and Company, New Jersey department store that closed in the late 1980s. So we're going all the way back. Rich's, Atlanta-based department store absorbed into Macy's in 2005. There's another store that absorbed into Macy's. So that's very interesting to me that a lot of these stores were anchor stores in their own right. I want to make sure I got that right. Yep, that was the last one. So Saks Fifth Avenue is headed to Chapter 11. They talk about how their debt payments have slowed down, as I mentioned before. They're not saying much about it. They're saying something, but I guess they're saying that they're making some headway, very small, but they have a pattern of late payments. So they do pay their bills. It says the numbers have varied, but they have been consistently late in paying their bill. So they are paying their bill, but they are completely late. So it says, what's that? Consistently taking nearly a month or more to pay its suppliers. That's pretty bad. Okay, Saxville has also seen so they're seeing customers desert the brand. So why are they deserting the brand? See, then I think deserting the brand is you can call that the foot traffic right then and there, right? Yes, you can call that foot traffic. I can't stand this stuff. Too much, too much advertising that just pops up on my screens. because even Neiman Marcus, I believe, Neiman Marcus, that's another one. Neiman Marcus was had merged into Saks, and now Saks is going, it's going through its problems now by not paying the bill. So they've been letting everyone know about their stuff. Now here's some more stuff. Oh, American retailers over 100 years old. Macy's, 1858. New York City, flagship store, still there. Bloomingdale's, 1861. High-end department store, headquartered in New York. Now part of Macy's. See, Bloomingdale, now part of Macy's. Brooks Brothers, never heard of them. Filed for bankruptcy in 2020, but still operates. Levi Strauss and Company. Man, I haven't heard about Levi Strauss and Company in a long time. I used to buy their jeans earlier, back when I was very young. That was the big thing. You can always get jeans in certain wholesale places, cheap, mom and pop places, cheap. Levi Strauss, all different color pants and everything. Nordstrom, that's another one. Now, Levi Strauss in 1853, Nordstrom 1901. So these are all the stores that have been 100 years old. J.C. Penney 1902, reorganized after 2020 bankruptcy. Saks Fifth Avenue Luxury Department 1902. Neiman Marcus, there it is 1907. L.L. Bean, I didn't think so, but I mean, I bought some stuff through the catalog. Kroger, large supermarket, 1883. Piggly Wiggly, never shopped there. First self-service grocery store, founded in Memphis, Tennessee. Safeway, 1915. Walgreens, 1901. Lord and Taylor, never heard of them, 1826. So it's definitely, there are definitely a bunch of stores that are on the brink of going, gone. And I think J.C. Penney's one. Macy's is having its problems. I think they would get rid of probably all the stores except for the one in New York. So at least a third of these stores, or just under a third of these stores, I have been to or have associated with. It used to be really a big deal because sometimes you don't go to those places unless it's holiday season, unless it's Christmas time or in the beginning of the year when they had these special sales, or the day after Thanksgiving. So they all are going through, as this one, financial struggles and debt reconstructing. So it is amazing that it is going to be a potential Chapter 11 because they're not paying their bills. I am surprised. I am surprised that a lot of stores was over 100 years old, somewhat surprised, and they're practically gone or gone. We know Montgomery Ward is gone. Sears is gone. Even though they both were about the same time, same kind of stuff. But most people like Sears more, and that's probably why Montgomery Ward went first, Sears second. Probably Sears had the better overall stuff because they had the Sears catalog. That was a really big deal when it first started. I guess you can say that they had a lot of high-end stuff as well as mid department store stuff. And it still is amazing how those stores that you shopped a lot, like May Company, are gone and they merged into Macy's. And if you was any kind of shopper and you've been around for a while, you saw it coming. That's what happened to the Broadway. That's what happened to a bunch of other stores that I just read. They either merged, rebranded, or totally went out of business. And it doesn't matter if it's a food store or clothing store. And what they say, these anchor stores for all these malls, whether the malls are outdoors or closed up malls. Even malls that went totally out of business and have been abandoned. And even though we speak right now, there are still some that are on the verge of being abandoned. The leases are too high. No one is shopping in them. People are going elsewhere, even if it's the same store. Seems like they're going back to outdoor stores. The malls are in big lots. And I don't mean like big lot, but big lots. And I guess you can have anchor stores in the big lots. This is Romney Shop, Saks Fifth Avenue, potential chapter 11. It sounds like it's really bad for them to write an article like this from the street. This time for me. I'll see you in my next video, folks. It's always a pleasure no matter who's on or who's not. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm being the messenger. Because at some point, if you watch this, you said, I didn't know that. But now you do. I'll see you in my next video. Talk to you later. Oh my. I'll be saying oh my for a very long time. So whatever happened to our shopping habits? Is it because we're the ones that have the problem? Or is the financial entities the one that are having a problem ultimately that can't bring us in to shop?